Okay, we're going to begin today's webinar. Hello, everyone. The presentation on today's webinar is sponsored by Dahua Technology USA, growing your business with multi-sensor cameras. In today's session, we'll learn how multi-sensors can optimize your video surveillance solution. I'm Andrea Morgan, ESA's Marcom Specialist, and I will facilitate today's webinar. Before we get started, let's cover a few housekeeping notes. First, all callers will be muted for the duration of this webinar. At any time, feel free to ask a question by clicking into that section of your control panel. We will ensure we reserve some time at the end of the webinar for a question and answer session with our speaker. A recording of this webinar will be made available in the resource library on esaweb.org at the end of the day. Without further ado, I'm very excited to introduce to you today's speaker, Jennifer Hackenberg. She is a 14-year video surveillance industry veteran. Jennifer Hackenberg is a senior product marketing manager at Dahua Technology USA. Her capabilities include marketing industry-leading products to Dahua's North American customer base, while also managing all aspects of the product lifecycle. Prior to joining Dahua, Hackenberg held product manager positions at Bosch Security Systems and Aerocont Vision. She possesses a deep understanding of video surveillance technology and is responsible for developing and leading the product marketing strategies for new product launches. Jennifer, thank you for joining us today. I will now turn the presentation over to you.
Great, thank you very much for that introduction. So hello and welcome to Dahua's webinar on how to grow your business with multi-sensor cameras. So on today's webinar, we're going to talk a little bit about the multi-sensor market and how multi-sensors are advantageous to a number of users such as installers, our integrators, and end users. So we will cover a number of different multi-sensors that are out on the market and the value proposition that they offer. So let's get started. Now, multi-sensors were first introduced to the video security industry in 2006, and they were more of a specialty camera back then, and that was mainly due to their high cost and the bandwidth demands that they required. Now, since then, prices have come down considerably, and of course, bandwidth consumption has improved. So as a result, these cameras have been growing rapidly in this market segment, and there is no sign of slowing down. They've actually evolved to the point where they've emerged as a mainstream product, and in some cases are an effective alternative to both PTZs and fisheye cameras. Now, in fact, as you can see from this chart, for the first time, panoramic cameras are expected to outsell PTZ cameras, and they will continue to increase throughout the forecast. Now, as a result, most camera manufacturers now offer some type of multi-sensor camera in their portfolio, and most VMS applications support them as well. So let's now start to talk about why these cameras are doing so well in the market, why they're creating a demand, and the advantages that they offer. So multi-sensors offer a number of advantages over installing multiple single sensor cameras. And really the difference with these cameras is that they incorporate multiple image sensors into a single housing to provide a 180 or 360-degree panoramic view for increased situational awareness. Now, some of the additional benefits that they offer is that because you're installing one camera versus multiple cameras, you're going to save 2/3 less installation time in deploying a single multi-sensor camera. And also, you're going to decrease the number of VMS licenses that would typically be required because a multi-sensor camera typically only requires one VMS license. And then also there's less cabling involved and less infrastructure, of course. So overall, you have a decrease in total cost of ownership. And as a result, you have a more aesthetic, pleasing installation that's more streamlined, and overall it's going to improve your situational awareness. You end up reducing the clutter, and you still get the same type of viewing field of view, but you're only installing one camera. So for demonstration purposes, let me try and show you the benefit of how a multi-sensor camera can save you. So let's say that you're trying to cover a 200 feet wide parking lot, and you have good pixel density using 4 individual single sensor cameras with a fixed lens that are each 2 megapixels apiece. Now, these 4 cameras appear to cover the lot completely and satisfy your requirements. However, let's now do the same scenario with a multi-sensor camera. So with a single multi-sensor camera that has 4 sensors that are each 2 megapixels apiece, you're going to see the same level of detail as the single sensor cameras, but it's going to actually provide you more accuracy, and it's going to require less infrastructure. So overall, again, it's going to give you a lower total cost of ownership when it comes down to saving on the infrastructure. So what type of applications are best used when deploying a multi-sensor camera? Well, as I mentioned, because multi-sensor cameras have become more of a mainstream product and are trending in the video security industry, they can be used just for about any application that you're trying to get a wide field of view. They are very useful in unattended applications for gathering better situational awareness. And they're also great for on the side of a building, just because, again, because of the aesthetics, you're going to have a single camera covering an area as compared to deploying a couple of individual single sensor cameras. Some other applications that they are great for is perhaps on an emergency call box, overseeing a factory assembly line, casinos, any type of wide application like a stadium, airports, parking lots. So now let's talk a little bit about the value proposition that they offer. So for installers, what they like about multi-sensor camera technology is the fact that fewer cameras are required to be installed and configured. Therefore, they're spending less time on site so that they have more customers and they can be serviced. And in addition, various mounting accessories are available to make the job of the installer easier, because they can be mounted in a variety of different ways, such as, like I said, on the corner of a building, on a pole mount, like for parking lots, and as well as wall mounting. So multiple single sensor cameras, as I mentioned, can look cluttered because they're all trying to cover a 180-degree field of view. However, with a single multi-sensor camera, it is able to do the job of multiple single sensor cameras. Now, for our integrators, the planning process for mid to large size applications can be very cumbersome because you have the cabling, the network, the integration that you all need to consider. So multi-sensors can help simplify the design process. In addition, you can think about the system opportunity and the ease of installation of installing one camera as compared to multiple. And because of the reduced infrastructure, the deployment of these cameras can be done much faster. Now, at Dahua, we offer a 5-year warranty for our authorized resellers, which is a great peace of mind to offer your customers. Now, of course, when it comes to our end users, they also find that multi-sensor cameras are very valuable, because when you think about a command center, operators are tasked to monitor a lot of different cameras and monitors at the same time. So it's no surprise that just after 10 minutes of viewing, the operator begins missing details, according to market research. But with a multi-sensor camera, operators are able to be more effective and more efficient, because they're not focusing on multiple channels. They're not shifting from channel to channel and looking at a number of different monitors. They're able to be more effective because the scene is going to be easier for them to comprehend. Overall, it improves the ability of the operator to view multiple areas of concern or interest for higher efficiency. Now, as a result, your customers will definitely save some time also when it comes to post-forensic analysis, when you're scrubbing through the data, because it's only one camera feed that you're going to be going through as compared to 3 or maybe 4 single sensor cameras. So that's another great added value. Also, you know, the fact that you can remotely monitor these cameras for increased security and oversight is another key benefit for these cameras. So now, if I haven't convinced you yet of the additional value that multi-sensors provide, I'd like to compare the numbers of a multiple camera approach versus just a single multi-sensor approach. So in this scenario, let's just say that we are installing 4 single sensor cameras. They are each a 2 megapixel. And the MSRP is approximately $228 for each camera, total of $912. Now you need to have the server, of course, 4 different licenses for your BMS, and then cabling. Of course, the installation is going to run you about 3 hours, say, per camera at $95 per hour overall. Total system cost, a little over $5,200. Now, when you look at applying a multi-sensor camera that is a 4 sensor with each sensor being 2 megapixels, you're looking at $1,652 MSRP approximately. So, you know, at first glance, that seems like an awful lot. But multi-sensor cameras are actually a lot more affordable when you look at it at the entire system. So I'm going to compare our dome and, for example, our bullet cameras at $1,652 MSRP. So you would still need a server, same amount, but now with the licensing, you're actually going to be saving because you're only going to need 1 license instead of 4. And for cabling, you're only going to need 1 cable compared to 4. And then where you're really going to end up saving is in the labor, because you're going to only be installing 1 camera versus 4. So total, your system is going to be a little over $4,500. So as you can see, a multi-sensor camera approach can be much more effective in terms of cost, just depending on the application and what it is that you're doing. But overall, this is just gives you an idea as to, by reducing the number of cameras, how much you can save in licensing, cabling, and even labor. So now let's go into some more details on 180-degree multi-sensors. So this is one type of multi-sensor that is out on the market. And so when choosing a multi-sensor, one thing to keep in mind is that not all multi-sensors are the same. One of the most important factors is the number of sensors that the camera includes. Now, most multi-sensors on the market have a fixed field of view. Therefore, the pixel density is not going to change. And this is important because the more sensors that a camera has, typically the better pixel density that you're going to get and the more coverage that you will get. And if you don't have good pixel density, then none of the other factors that the multi-sensor has will really matter. Now, for example, Dahua does offer a 3-sensor camera, and each field of view is approximately 60 degrees. And we also offer a 4-sensor option as well, of each sensor being around 45 degrees apiece. Now, the 4-sensor camera is, because it does provide that additional sensor, you are going to have higher pixel density. Just by adding that additional sensor, you're going to get much more coverage without installing another camera. So if that's the case, then why would you even use the 3-sensor option is probably what you're wondering. Well, that is actually going to depend on the application itself. So a 3-sensor camera, from Dahua anyway, is going to give you a more shallow look, and that's what you're seeing on the screen right now. So this type of camera is going to be ideal for your indoor applications typically, and for scenes that maybe have lower ceilings. Now, in comparison, this is what you're going to get from one of Dahua's 4-sensor multi-sensor cameras. And as you can see, there's much more coverage. And this particular camera is going to be better for your outdoor views, such as looking below the camera and covering parking lots or stadiums. So they each have their place in the market. It's just a matter of what your application is and what it is that you're trying to look at. So what is the difference with Dahua's multi-sensor cameras in comparison to our competitors on the market? Well, the first thing is the IR integration. So all of our 3- and 4-sensor cameras offer integrated IR. Now, some of our competitors do offer IR, but we we offer it on almost all of our cameras, as well as the Smart H.265 Plus future-proof Kodak. So many of our competitors have not yet made that leap to going to the H.265. And the great thing about Dahua cameras is that they are future-proofed with this Kodak, and you're able to toggle between H.264 and the H.265 if your other component, such as your NVR, is not H.265 compatible yet. So by purchasing one of the Dahua multi-sensors, you know that once you're ready to go to an NVR that's H.265, that your camera is also going to be equipped with that technology as well. And then finally, the other difference with our cameras is that we offer intelligent video system analytics at the edge on all of our multi-sensor cameras, with the exception, of course, of our HD over coax offering. So when you look at us in comparison to the competition, very few competitors offer all 3 of these differences in their cameras. And that's where we stand out. We offer, no additional cost for the intelligent video system analytics, which of course adds a lot of value to your system, the integrated IR, and then also the future-proofed latest Kodak. Okay, so now another type of multi-sensor that's on the market and that is trending is 360-degree multi-sensors. Now, this one that I'm going to talk about actually has an integrated PTZ. So you're really getting the best of both worlds. As I mentioned before, PTZs are declining, but when integrated with a multi-sensor, you're getting the value of being able to zoom at long-range distances while also maintaining your overall situational awareness on your second monitor. So Dahua offers a 8-sensor, 360-degree with a PTZ that's 2 megapixel and integrated at 37x zoom factor. So this particular camera, again, is a great for applications that are very large, such as covering a parking lot, such as covering a stadium. It comes with that future-proofed Kodak, and it's very good in low-light applications. Now, the great thing about this camera particularly is that it has the auto-tracking ability. And that's going to be a key differentiator in those applications where you need to monitor a person or an object going through the scene. Now, this particular camera, the way that the stitching works is that there's actually 3 different channels. So the first 4 sensors are output onto one channel. And then the second 4 sensors, because there's 8 in total, is output onto the second channel. Now on the third channel, you have the PTZ that's being output. And with this camera, we use a first-tier industrial level FPGA with a very high processing power. It then is a DSP is utilized for better image quality and for very accurate precision like stitching, and then finally output into your full situational awareness. So here is a good example of what a camera like that can produce. So this would be what you would see on, say, the first channel, and that's going to represent 4 of your sensors. And you can see where the sensors would be at on this particular image, but there's really no visibility of the stitching. Very, very accurate precision stitching. Here's another view of this camera during a nighttime shot. And then here's a daytime scene with the precision PTZ. And here's a video, actually, a video clip of how the PTZ detects that there's motion in the scene. It goes in and begins to track the object throughout the scene. And you can really tell the level of detail and clarity of the image. And then once the object leaves the scene and it's no longer in view, the PTZ will go back to its home position. Now, just to give you an idea of the mounting of this particular product, it was mounted, I would say, about 3 stories up, so you can get an idea of, the level of detail when it's deployed at a very high height. So overall, this camera was able to track the object throughout the scene. It's also able to provide an overall situational awareness on a second monitor. And then as a result, you're able to get very detailed images at long distance range. Now, another consideration that you will want to take into when choosing a multi-sensor camera is its low light capacity. And Starlight technology is available on all of Dahua's multi-sensor cameras. And that's pretty important because if you're utilizing a multi-sensor in a very dark application or low light challenging scenes, you'll want to make sure that the sensor is sensitive to low light conditions. And our Starlight technology is made up of a number of key components so that it can provide detailed images in very dark applications. And the first thing that we ensure that the camera has is a high-end, very low-light CMOS sensor. Now, all of our multi-sensor cameras have a StarVis sensor, and I'll explain a little bit more what that means in just a minute. But in addition to the low-light sensor, these cameras also provide or have an advanced ISP image signal processor for high-powered processing capability. Another key component of Starlight is the high-quality optics and a large aperture lens, again, for low-light sensitivity. And then finally, a key component is special Dahua algorithms that are designed to lower the noise and reduce image smearing. So StarVis CMOS sensor, like I said, is included in all of our multi-sensor cameras. And the way that that works is that, well, a typical CMOS sensor, just a regular CMOS, typically has the photodiode layer on the bottom. And then on top of that, you'll see the metal wire layering. Now, what happens is that when the light tries to pass through, that metal wiring is often blocking, so you're not getting as much light. Now with the StarVis sensor, it's actually flipped where the metal wiring layer is on the bottom, so there's more light able to pass through, and you're going to get much better images in very dark applications. Now, some of the industry differentiators that you want to look for out there, well, is that intelligent video system analytics, again, the Kodak, the upgraded H.265 backwards compatibility Kodak is another feature that you'll want to ensure that your camera has. And also, if there's any type of smart Kodak ability. So I'd like to now talk about our smart H.265 Kodak. So now I mentioned since the time when multi-sensor cameras surfaced, bandwidth consumption was a concern, and now it has improved, especially with the new Kodak of H.265. Now, one way that Dahua has made our multi-sensors more efficient when it comes to bitrate is by optimizing H.265 for an even higher savings on bandwidth and storage. So our Smart H.265 Plus offers a multi-pronged approach by really reducing the data without degrading the image quality wherever possible. Now, anyone can say that their products include the H.265 Kodak, but it's really the way in which the manufacturer implements the Kodak that's going to make the real difference. So in other words, H.265 is really just the wrapper, but it's really what's inside and the algorithms that the manufacturer implements that is going to provide the higher value. So our Smart Kodak works in 4 innovative ways: dynamic region of interest, scene adaptive encoding, noise reduction, and dynamic groups of pictures, or DGOP. Let me explain to you how this works. So dynamic region of interest selects the areas only where activity is detected in your scene. So any moving objects are going to maintain a low level of compression so that you maintain those details, because mostly you're interested in the moving details in your scene, so you want to be able to go back in and forensically look at those details later. But the image quality of the background area, and for this example, you know, like the street signs, anything that's not moving is going to be compressed higher. So it's going to reduce the bit rate. So that's one way that the smart codec is going to work to help save on bit rate. Now, a second way is scene adaptive encoding. So based on the complexity of the scene adaptive encoding strategy is going to apply the appropriate level of compression. So for example, if there is any type of minor movement in your scene, such as just trees swaying or the wind blowing, it's going to basically be ignored. But now, if any type of motion or there's a major change in the scene, such as a car driving through the street, the bit rate is going to increase so that the details are retained. So again, this is going to help save on your overall bit rate. The next way is DGOP, dynamic groups of pictures. So in a typical surveillance scene, an iframe is generated about every 2 seconds, and that's regardless of motion. So if there's motion in the scene or not, it's still going to generate an iframe. However, when you enable the DGOP, what's going to happen is that when the scene is quiet with no motion, an iframe is going to be generated less often, therefore saving on your bit rate. When motion interrupts the scene, then iframes will continue to generate again about every 2 seconds. And then finally, noise reduction. So noise in a scene is often read by as movement, and as a result, the bit rate is increased, and it eats up your storage consumption faster with very unusable, grainy video. So instead of eating up your storage consumption, the noise reduction is dynamically filtered and applies different noise levels for a clearer, more detailed image. So as a result, we have 4 codecs that are going to be in our multi-sensor cameras that you can toggle between. Again, if you're not ready to go to H.265, you have the option to utilize the H.264 or the Smart 264 Plus. That's going to help save you on additional bit rate. So for each individual type of scene, it will depend on how much you save. But overall, when you utilize the Smart 264 Plus, you're going to save about 60 to 70% as compared to using H.264. Now, if you're going to toggle and use the H.265, you're going to save about 40 to 50% compared to 264. And when you go to Smart H.265 Plus, your savings is going to be around 70 to 80%. And again, that's just going to depend on the scene, but overall, as a general rule of thumb, these cameras offer you the ability to save on your storage and bandwidth without straining the network. Okay, so industry-leading multi-sensors that are out there are typically preloaded with intelligent video analytics, including scene change, tripwire, motion detection, and missing or abandoned objects. Now, IVS, as we call it, adds sense and structure to a video surveillance system, again, to make operators more efficient. So that's one thing that you will want to check to see when choosing a multi-sensor is if it has onboard intelligent video system analytics. Because as a result, IVS is going to help save operators time when searching for an event. And that's because they're going to have less recorded video to sort through. And because of the high level of accuracy from IVS rules being on the camera itself, fewer false positives are going to be triggering data recordings, and therefore, as a result, you're going to see a higher savings on your storage. Now, many of our cameras also offer advanced IVS analytics, and those consist of the more advanced features of face detection, heat mapping, and people counting. So just depending on which camera that you'd be utilizing will depend on the advanced analytics that are offered. So now let's take a look at the system installation and overview. So one consideration when installing a multi-sensor is, again, where you're going to install it, whether it be indoors or outdoors. Now, Dahua's multi-sensors are all outdoor rated and as well as indoor rated. These three that you see on the screen have a built-in heater, taking it down to -40 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So one consideration is if you're installing it outside that you want to remember is to ensure that you utilize all the proper mounting accessories. And our cameras all have a variety of different accessories. And the big thing to remember is that cold itself typically does not damage the camera, but the bigger concern is that the condensation that gets inside the camera. So if condensation is going to get inside it because you're utilizing or improperly installing an outdoor application camera, you know, the components, the electrical components are going to get damaged from that condensation. So using the proper junction box and any other components or accessories for your outdoor installation is going to help protect your investment. So I'm now going to go over how this product integrates with our recording solution. Now, one of our unique advantages with our multi-sensor cameras is we provide stitching within the camera itself. So we have a seamless, uninterrupted image that's streamed directly to your device. So whether it's the 3 or 4 sensor camera, the NVR or the VMS sees this as a regular camera, with just the exception that it's over a wide screen. So all VMSs should be able to record the multi-sensor stream. Now, all 4K S2 Dahua DVRs will support the IP multi-sensor cameras. And what's different about these NVRs is that they feature a custom split mode within the OSD. Now, what this means is that you can display the panoramic image as well as some other small cameos of other IP cameras that you have on your system to fill up the blank areas. So here's just an example of what you will see. And the custom split mode. So you have the ability to merge multiple 7 views, where you're merging the top 3 together for that wide viewing up the other cameos with you on your system. So you should now see, this is just a video clip of what you would be seeing if you chose to do the split 7 view with one of our NVRs. And as you can see, you can zoom in and move it around on the panoramic top view. Now you can also do a custom split 8 view, and that's where the panoramic occupies most of the screen with 7 surrounding cameos. So this is just an example again of the 4K S2 NVR with our 4-sensor camera. So you can see how it's just a little bit different. Now this is the 4 split mode. Now your cameo is even larger. And all display modes are going to allow you to zoom as well. Okay, so as far as the system overview, we have a number of additional components, accessories that you would need to complete your multi-sensor end-to-end solution. So whether it be the switches, the storage device, the monitor, keyboard controller, you know, we have a variety of different components and accessories to complete your solution. Now, there is an HD over coax multi-sensor that I'd like to now review. And this is a brand new camera offering for us. We just released this one. And the great thing about HD over coax is it's our HD CVI. It has 3 sensors on it, and they're each 2 megapixels apiece. And the great thing about this is that it allows people that are still using the coax infrastructure to upgrade their systems to the latest and greatest technologies that are available. So this camera does also use a Starvis sensor, so it's fantastic in low light applications. It also uses a first tier FPGA modular. It's an aluminum housing, and it's really small and very lightweight. It only weighs about 3 pounds. Very, very easy to install. In total length, it's only about a little more than 11 inches. Each of those sensors are 3.6 millimeters. And again, like I said, it has the Starvis technology, and it has integrated IR of up to 66 feet. So this is just an example of what you can expect the output from this HD over coax multi-sensor. It has 4 BNC interfaces, and 3 of those channels will output the 2 megapixel video, and then the 4th one is going to output your panoramic video. This is just another example that you can see of what the output is. And the great thing about this product is that it actually has an electronic cruise feature where it has a split screen so that you can monitor moving objects at a closer view with this camera. So overall, here is a quick reference guide of the various multi-sensors that Dahua offers. And just we've just highlighted, you know, the main primary features as you look for the multi-sensor that is best suited for your application. So finally, we have a white paper that's available. You can download that by visiting our website. And with that, I thank you very much for tuning in, and I'm going to turn it back over to ESA.
Thank you, Jennifer, for your presentation. Callers, we hope you found this content to be informative. We will now move over to the question and answer segment. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in your questions panel. Let's go ahead and start with the first question. Jennifer, on the nighttime shot from the video you showed, how much blooming is there with the headlights pointing towards the cameras?
That's actually a good question, and I would have to go back. I'm not the one who shot that, so I would have to go back to our technician and ask him how much blooming there is. So if you would like to just take a note on that, and I can get back to the person that asked the question.
Okay, and moving on to the second question. How many channels take a multi-sensor camera in the NVR?
It's actually going to depend on which NVR that you're using, and it's also going to depend on the multi-sensor that you are using. So, for example, the integrated PTZ one with 8 sensors, that one is 4 channels that you'll be utilizing. However, with the 3 sensor one, I think that one is 3 channels. So I think it's just really going to depend.
Okay. What frame rates do Dahua multi-sensors offer?
Okay, so yes, our frame rates at full resolution for the 4 sensor camera is 25 frames per second, and the 3 sensor IP multi-sensors are 30 frames per second. Now the HD CBI camera is going to produce at full resolution 15 frames per second, and then the multi-sensor with 8 sensors is going to do 25 frames per second, and then it will also do 60 frames per second at 1080p on the PTZ camera as well.
Okay, another question. If we work with a third-party software, how many channels would we need per camera?
Again, that's actually something that I would have to get back to you on. It's actually going to depend on the actual VMS, and it's also going to depend on which storage device and exactly which multi-sensor that would be used in the application. So again, if you can give me the name of that person that asked that question, I'd be happy to find out more details on that.
Okay. Do the cameras offer onboard storage?
Yes. So all of our IP network multi-sensors do offer onboard storage, with the exception of the HD over coax one.
How many VMS licenses are required for the 8-sensor PTZ?
Yeah, so that would just be 1 VMS license that's required for that camera.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I'd like to thank Jennifer for her presentation, and thank you to all of our attendees for sharing your valuable time with us this afternoon. As a reminder, a recording of this webinar will be available at esaweb.org in the resource library. Thank you all for participating. Enjoy the rest of your day.